Welcome to your second lesson, Padawan. Your lightsaber instructor has already likely covered this, but I shall be going over a very practical lesson today. The basics of the 7 forms of lightsaber combat. The most important aspect of lightsaber combat is understanding what the 7 forms are and what they represent. In addition, which one represents you the most. You will most likely adopt a single form, though for now you only know a bit of Form 1. Only the best masters of the Order are capable of mastering multiple forms of lightsaber combat, making them truly versatile opponents. However, I myself am not one of these masters, and will thus show you footage of other masters performing the various lightsaber forms. However, let us begin the lesson going over the 7 lightsaber forms: Shii-Cho, Makashi, Soresu, Ataru, Shien, Djem, Niman, and Juyo.
Shii-Cho is the most basic form. It utilizes the basic system of parries, attacks, and body zones, and does little to expand upon them. This form is most useful against multiple close-range opponents, as its wide sweeping motions are useful for keeping multiple enemies in different directions at bay. In addition, it can be useful when deflecting blaster bolts, especially when attempting to protect others behind you. It is, however, relatively weak against single opponents, as the wide swings often leave oneself open to attack directed towards one's center. Another weakness of this form is that it was designed before the lightsaber became truly prominent, meaning that it uses the lightsaber like a normal blade, not one capable of attacking from any direction. Makashi is a direct response to the rise of the lightsaber. It focuses on jabs, parries, and quick cuts to counter the sweeping movements of Shii-Cho. Makashi is excellent for fighting a lightsaber-wielding opponent in single combat. Its precise movements, along with sure footwork, allow the wielder to quickly penetrate an opponent's guard to move in for a quick finish. However, Makashi is very weak towards blaster deflection, since the form focuses on having the blade pointed towards the opponent. In addition, the focus style of Makashi makes it vulnerable to multiple opponents who can slip by a wielder who is already engaged. Finally, Makashi is a physically weak style, with its focus on precise strikes generating little momentum, allowing more powerful styles to break down its meager defenses. Soresu is the most defensive of all the lightsaber forms, focusing on creating an impenetrable defense around the user. Focusing on very fast movements very close to the body, a user of Soresu can effectively defend against both blaster fire and lightsabers. The goal of Soresu is to expend very little energy in one's movements while waiting for an opponent to tire out, then switch to a more aggressive style. However, this is also its greatest weakness, as a very strong opponent can still break your defenses without fear of serious counterattack. For a very fast combatant, Ataru is the best form. It focuses on using the Force to augment one's speed and agility to move blindingly fast against a single opponent, allowing you to slip past their defenses to take them out of the fight. It is even effective against a distant enemy armed with a blaster, as you can move quickly to engage while dodging fire. It is very ineffective, however, when engaging multiple enemies, as it is difficult to coordinate your own movements to avoid what all of your opponents are doing. Form 5, which is divided into 2 subforms, Shien and Djem, is more of a middle ground between Soresu and Makashi. It focuses on controlling your opponent until you are able to subdue them. Shien is more focused on blaster fire, allowing you to redirect your opponent's blaster fire back against them for your own use. It also allowed for strong counterattacks when fighting in close quarters, controlling an enemy's blade and movements to your advantage. It is a bit more effective against multiple opponents rather than single opponents because there are more targets to redirect a foe's energies against. Djem is more aggressive than Shien, calling for more personal force behind counterattacks, in addition to continuing these counters longer so you may build momentum. The only real negative of either subset of Form 5 is their lack of agility behind them, allowing quick opponents to quickly breach their guard. Niman is the most balanced of all forms. It blends all the forms before it to create a form that has no true weakness nor strength. The wielder is usually someone who does not have much time for combat training, such as a diplomat. There is little to say, as the form has almost no identity of its own, but it is effective enough in almost any circumstance, be it multiple enemies armed with blasters or a single force wielder. Niman masters often rely on the force and intuition to predict enemy moves and react to them appropriately, be it offensively or defensively. The final form, Juyo, is the newest and most erratic form. The practitioner made many fast movements like in Ataru, but they were all focused towards attacking the enemy blindingly fast face on. The wielder must draw upon an inner desire to fight and skirt the dark side to make themselves more erratic and aggressive so they could overwhelm their enemy both with ferocity and speed. This form is the most difficult to master, and only those who have mastered multiple forms before it may use it. The one true weakness is that reliance on inner emotion makes the user vulnerable to force powers, such as telekinesis or force lightning.
As you have most likely guessed, this is not a very detailed overview of each lightsaber form. However, you can see how the philosophies of life can be applied to each form. Ataru tends towards those who are more peaceful and in tune with the Force, while Niman is more for those who are in tune with the physical world. Find your form and you will find your philosophy. Today's lesson is concluded, Padawan. Good day.